Hey everyone, Brian Matish here. Now I'm just going to come out and admit it. I love apps, and I love apps especially that help me with my workflow. So what I wanted to do was maybe put together a quick video and walk you through the apps that I use every day. And they are on this device. That is the iPhone. I am an iOS user. I've switched between iOS and Android 1,000 times, but I'm sticking to iPhone and iOS. I have an iPad, I have an iMac right over here, and it just works for me. Fortunately, just about all of the apps that I use are either cross-platform, so you can find them on Android, or there are Android equivalents that have the same bells and whistles. But for me, I spend a lot of time on YouTube. I'm fascinated by what apps, what workflows people use. Because just like when I write about photography or the creative process, I do so because I want other people to read it or watch my videos and pick away at things that work for them. So I watch videos by other people and I pick away things that I think work for me. And it's a constantly evolving process. So apps and technology these days, software is so fantastic that why not let it help you in life and in work and just everything in between. So we're going to jump onto the iMac here, and I'm going to screencast my iPhone. It's an iPhone 6s Plus, and it's running 9.2, I think, iOS 9.2.1. I don't know. But the point is, these are all current up-to-date apps. We are at the very end of February 2016, so I think I'm going to do this routinely as things change. If I discover a new app or something, I'm going to dive into it. So let's check it out. All right, so let's dive into my apps. First thing you'll notice, though, is I keep all my apps to one page. I am one of those kind of neurotic people. If it doesn't fit on the first page, including folders, then it doesn't have a place on my phone. It's just the way it is. I never can understand people who have like 8 or 9 different screens. That would drive me bonkers. However, if you are one of those people who have lots of apps, one of the things I like to do is swipe over and then just type the name of the app over here. Like if I'm looking for LinkedIn, it's pretty quick actually in the search. So that works. So let's get at it with the apps. Right off the bat, you'll see the stock camera app and the stock photos app by Apple. Listen, they just work really well. I'm invested in iOS, so having iCloud backups for my photos makes sense. Next to it is Lightroom Mobile, and that little dot means it's a beta app, so I'm not going to launch into it because that would break my NDA, but for the most part, it's Lightroom Mobile, the same Lightroom Mobile you can get from the App Store or on Android. Next is the first folder, and that's AV. So I am trying to make my home a smart home by introducing all sorts of Internet of Things products and services. So my entire home entertainment center is controlled by Logitech Harmony, and it works really well. I can just go into it and get access to all of my primary presets. I know that my wife is watching Apple TV right now, so I could be mean and turn it off, but I won't do that because that would not make for a happy wife, which makes for a happy life. We also have Sonos, so if I ever want to play my audio throughout the house, I can, which is freaking awesome. If you aren't a Sonos user, strongly recommend it. Pretty much all the lights in my office and in the living room, which is where our entertainment center is, are controlled by Hue, so that makes sense there. My iMac serves as one of the media hubs for the house, and I use Plex to control that. Wemo is what I use to control some light switches throughout the house, and then the Apple remote for Apple TV in those situations where the Harmony app doesn't work, which is hardly ever because the Harmony app is actually quite good. So the second row is what I'm kind of most excited about. Actually, it's the impetus for this video. I used to use Evernote for my workflow. I'm a big fan of trying to take notes and jot down things, and I used Evernote for a while, but lately it's just simply been way too kludgy and syncing wasn't fast or complete. So I've actually moved back to just Apple's Notes. With iOS 9, they did a brilliant job with Notes and it works really well. And I use this basically just for note-taking, for quick task lists, and if I need to sketch something, I'll do that. The reason why I was so hesitant to leave Evernote was because I love the web clipper. So I can take any website or any web page that I find interesting that I want to refer to later on, and clip it to Evernote. Notes can't do that. What Notes does is if you go, say, here to reference posts and then go to good reference posts, you just get these snippets, which is great. If I click on one, it'll open up the website, but there are times when I need to work without internet, if I'm traveling or something. And if I'm traveling, I don't want that to be an excuse not to use or not to be able to work. So I'm switching over as of today to Pocket. If there's a theme to my app switching rationale, it's that for a long time, I tried to find that one app that can do everything. And I've decided that instead I'm going to focus on apps that do specific tasks exceptionally well. And Pocket is that task. It'll ingest anything you send in it, full websites, and give you access, including YouTube, as you can see here. I'm going to use this a lot to kind of catalog any interesting websites or stories or videos that I want to include in my newsletter, which is titled Inbox Inspiration. The third app, DayOne. This is a brand new app I just got. Oh, it's not a brand new app. It's been around for years. Version 2 was just released earlier this month. And what DayOne does is it encourages journaling. And for a long time, I was resistant to that because I just didn't care about it. So I started reading a lot from people who I respect, and they talk about the virtues of journaling. So, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. DayOne, from all of my research, is the best journaling app out there. It's a bit pricey, but so be it. We'll see how it goes. I entered my first journal earlier today, and I'm going to try to do it every morning. The next folder is just utilities, App Store, and settings. Nothing to talk about here. Third row, 1Password. I live and die by 1Password. It is just, I'm not going to go into it right now because I don't want to show you my important stuff. But if you're looking for some sort of a master password keeper and records and stuff, in my opinion, 1Password is amazing. And huge props to them because they just recently updated their Android build to support the Android Touch, their fingerprint reader, which is huge. Chrome, I tried to use Safari, but because Chrome is just so much better in cross-platform syncing and just, in my opinion, a better browser, I use it on iOS as well. Now, Waze. Google bought Waze a few years ago, and it's a great crowdsourcing navigation app, but here's why I love it. If I go into the settings here, and then go to sound, there you go, voice language, English US, Morgan Freeman. I've been using Morgan for a bit to help guide me, and his lovely voice, man, it makes my trips go that much more smoothly. So there's a folder here called Matthias Inc. So I'm self-employed, I have my own company, and these are the apps right now that are most critical to my business. I use Shopify. That is the platform that my store, the Matthias store, is built on. MailChimp is what I use for all of my inbox inspiration, e-blasts, and my promotional emails. Oftentimes, I do surveys, especially to my readers, and SurveyMonkey is the platform that I use for that. Now, my bank is Navy Federal. I am fortunate enough to use that as my bank because my wife is a former Navy veteran. So that's awesome. It's one of the best banks I've ever used. MoneyWiz. This is a great app, and it's also cross-platform. I'm a big fan of balancing my checkbook, just old school like that. So MoneyWiz helps me with that. PayPal is what I use in conjunction with Shopify. So anything that you purchase goes through PayPal. I'm sure you've heard of it. QuickBooks is what I use with my accountant to do all of my bookkeeping to keep me out of jail because, yes, I pay my taxes, and QuickBooks helps me with that. And then Google Analytics, because it's important to know if my site is growing, where it's not growing, where are the people who are visiting coming from, are you on mobile? So Analytics, great app. All right, almost done. Feedly and Spotify. So Feedly is what I use to essentially just read content. It's essentially boomed into fame after Google abruptly shut down Google Reader several years ago. So I now use Feedly to just catch up on news according to different categories. And Spotify is, rather than Apple Music or Google Play Music, I just use Spotify. It's awesome. For $10 a month, it's worth every penny. Next is a folder called Apps, and this is essentially a catch-all. It has just every app in here that I use, and I'll go through every now and then and delete apps that haven't been used in a while. Pretty much all of the second tier apps fall into the apps folder. Then there's social, LinkedIn and Periscope and Slack. And Nextdoor is a cool app. It's kind of a social network for your neighborhood. So it kind of helps keep you in the know if anything is going on there. Followed by Skype, Hangouts, and Stellar, which is one of my favorite storytelling apps. The fifth row is pretty self-explanatory. Facebook, Instagram, Tweetbot, and Snapchat. These are currently the 4 social networks that I use the most. So I want them at single clicks. Below that are also kind of some of my most used apps. Phone, because sometimes you have to reach out and touch someone. Yelp, I never go anywhere without checking Yelp first. Not for the reviews so much, but for the photos. I like to see, ideally, the food that I'm going to order before I order it. Podcasts. This is something that's relatively new. I never really got into podcasts, but I've been pretty much enamored with them lately. And then Messenger. Facebook Messenger, whether you like it or not, is becoming one of the most popular real-time communication platforms out there. And for a while, I resisted it, but I've come around. And it's actually a pretty fun chatting app. And let's round things off with the doc. So Spark. Spark is an email app. And up until this morning, I used Outlook by Microsoft. And if you have any doubts, it is a fantastic email app. Spark, though, something about it really stands out. The design is really fresh. It takes a lot of cues from Android's material design. There are some features about it that I find really interesting, and I hope that they build out some other features like, you have access to your calendar here, which you do with Outlook, except one of the key differences is that Spark supports calendars that you subscribe to, whereas Outlook currently does not, which is a huge bummer. Next up, Fantastical. It just blows every other calendar app out of the water. Wunderlist, as far as, more robust tasking with setting dates and due times and assigning tasks, Wunderlist is the way to go for me. And then finally, Apple's good old Messages for iMessage. And these are the apps that I use most frequently. All right, so there you have it. Those are the apps on my iPhone. And for the most part, everything on the iPhone is also on my iPad. I really try to stick only with universal apps because when I get into, a certain interface or a set of features, I want them to be everywhere. And it's even triple bonus points if there's also a kind of a desktop companion. So do me a favor, let me know what you think of the apps I'm using, and I want to know what apps you're using. Leave them in the comments section. I love this stuff. I mean, I really do. So shout out and let me know what you think. Thanks a lot, everyone.